Mark, can you, perhaps this is better? Yeah.
Yeah. Does this work?
Yes, works. Yeah. Can you sort of give us a feeling, a shape, you know, an idea of the shape and state of the independent industry in your territory in Spain?
In Spain and Portugal, I would say the independent industry is always changing. It's you get more kind of producers and artists starting their own label, and there are distributors which are kind of set up to support them, like Altafonte, for example. That's quite a big distributor in Spain, and they have a setup just to let. One of the main things they do is allow artists to self-release, and they help them with that. That's something that wasn't the case 15 years ago. You didn't have that kind of setup. I would say, on the whole, the problems we have in Spain, we find it very hard to get on the radio. We find it very hard to keep records on playlists, digital playlists. I mean, they tend to be really dominated by the majors, and in the week of release you can get traction because we all have the opportunity to pitch to Spotify and Apple, but it doesn't seem to hang around so much. I think that's a question of volume of back catalogue that the majors have. They can keep things in there for longer. Those are the kind of new challenges which have come about. The radio problem has been there for... In Spain, about 10, 12 years ago, all the mainstream radios switched to a system where they ring up households and they ask if they recognize an artist. Now, that always plays in favor of artists who've been around for a long time, and it plays against artists who are new. It took us about 9 months to get Adele on the hit radio. And once she was on, we couldn't get her off. You know, we couldn't change singles. They worked the same single for like 9 months. And we were going, no, we want to switch to the ballads. And they were going, no, let's keep with this one. Went on forever. And you know, sometimes the thing is, radios they find it very hard to change.
Yeah.
And I would say those are the biggest problems. We've conquered the issues of physical stores. I think we can all get good space and racking in the physical shops, but the new challenges are those.
Yeah, I think you touched on 2 or 3 of those challenges that I feel are very close to our experience as well in Italy. Alcune delle sfide che Mark ha appena nominato, che sono quelle tipiche del suo paese, ovvero l'accesso alle playlist, l'accesso alle classifiche, l'accesso alle radio, sono anche quelle che abbiamo di fronte tutti i giorni anche noi. Vorrei chiedere al nostro vicepresidente Dario Giovannini di Carosello di raccontarci un po' che cosa succede in Italia nella sua esperienza, perché è molto, molto vicina a quella della Spagna. Grazie. Sì, il microfono di Mark. O anche quello, sì.
Buongiorno a tutti, buongiorno a tutti. Innanzitutto io ringrazio i rappresentanti di oggi, di Impala, Helen in particolare, perché chiaramente sentire la presenza di società, di strutture, di imprenditori che hanno comunque vivono le nostre situazioni, gli stessi nostri problemi, è sicuramente ci dà forza e ci unisce. Io credo che l'Italia stia vivendo un momento continuo di cambiamento. Noi, a differenza comunque di molti paesi europei, non abbiamo un divario culturale secondo me molto importante. In Italia la musica non ha quello status di arte come dovrebbe avere, e questo chiaramente è un problema perché per la maggior parte dei consumatori la musica è considerata ormai un gadget, è considerata un qualcosa che deve essere regalato e che non ha un valore. Questo chiaramente per tutta, credo, la filiera musicale sia uno dei problemi principali, ovvero quello di riuscire con le istituzioni ad aprire un dialogo, a far capire che il lavoro che tutti noi facciamo, ognuno con le proprie competenze, è importante perché dà l'identità culturale di un paese. A questo si somma, io credo, un altro problema fondamentale, che sono il divario tecnologico che noi abbiamo. Noi siamo a Milano non è l'Italia è il piccolo paese, ed è fatta di piccoli paesi dove c'è anche una difficoltà ad accedere a internet con una banda larga che in realtà tanto larga non è, e sicuramente per un mercato musicale che ormai è totalmente orientato verso il digitale diventa un limite abbastanza importante. Per quanto riguarda le radio, la situazione in Italia è, diciamo, simile. Da noi in Italia le radio si fanno la loro etichetta e trasmettono le loro cose, quindi diciamo che forse siamo in questo un po' più avanti della Spagna. Per quanto riguarda, chiudo dicendo che io auspico anch'io, c'è in prima fila Alessandro Massara, con cui abbiamo condiviso anche un panel qualche giorno fa al Medimex. Anch'io sarebbe sicuramente un passo in avanti se multinazionali e indipendenti riuscissero a dialogare di più. Settimana prossima, tra una decina di giorni, partirà probabilmente la classifica degli album, che conterrà anche gli streaming. Noi abbiamo avuto un incontro molto interessante con Fimi l'altro giorno, che ci ha presentato le classifiche. Spero che questo incontro possa essere anche importante per aprire un dialogo, perché penso che l'unione faccia la forza. Per ottenere dei risultati si debba in qualche modo essere uniti, sia multinazionali che indipendenti. Grazie.
Helen, I'm going to turn to you perhaps for a few words on one of the things that we have been talking about for a long time at Impala, and that are now actually on the in the mind, in the discourse, which are value gap. So is there perspective from Impala on value gap? What can you give us a little potted history, and perhaps where we are now and what's the future?
The value gap is the term that's used to describe the gap between consumption and revenues on typically user uploaded services, and the most obvious one being YouTube, but there are others. And the question of the gap is really one which identifies where services that come out of the user uploaded, i.e. safe harbor background, are radically underpaying for use of music compared to other services which are going through the normal licensing route. So we can think of Spotify or Deezer, for example. And this gap or transfer of value you sometimes hear about was something that was identified, and obviously with the market developing so fast and platforms like YouTube becoming really the world's biggest distributors of music, obviously the opportunities are phenomenal and huge, and our labels, as I imagine here too, have a very good working relationship with those services. The question for us is to work out how to improve the monetization from those services so that the gap is fixed. Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
What's your feeling on the other side at the moment? I mean, do you think there's any coming closer with the industry that actually takes music and uses music to work to survive? I mean, the over-the-tops.
Well, I think there are two routes. There's one is the negotiation route, but in order to be able to succeed there, then the framework for operating those kind of services needs to catch up. So it's a very old-fashioned framework.
You're talking about the legal framework.
Yeah, the legal framework. And in Brussels, for example, there's a piece of legislation going through which is reviewing copyright. And as part of reviewing the copyright regime, it's going to take the opportunity to clarify the situation of large-scale platforms.
We'll have that later on, and I think that's a little bit of a success story.
Yes. And that's going through now, so that will take a few months, and Matthew from IMPALA is going to talk about that in more detail later. But I think that certainly that it looks like there will be a positive outcome from that. Clearly, it's still a long way to go, and that for us is probably the biggest single commercial and financial break on the sector. But it's not just about money, it's not just about the value, it's also about the question of making sure the digital market is open and competitive, as we don't all want to be subject to the rule and the will of just one service. We want lots of services, we want local services, and we want to be able to work with those in an open and level playing field environment. I think that's the other aspect which is really important. We want proper competition between the different services.
Yeah, I think someone also touched on the importance of cultural diversity, and IMPALA is definitely a promoter of cultural diversity. Mark, would you like to say something about that? I mean, the way that IMPALA promotes cultural diversity, or tries to.
Well, yeah, I mean, clearly what IMPALA is it's an association of labels from all over Europe with their different cultures and languages, and, even in Spain, in our association, we have labels which just put out records in Catalan, just put out records in Basque or Gallego, and the major labels touch on that a bit when they buy back catalogue, but I don't think any major label has signed a group that sings in Catalan in the last 20 years. So that whole angle is coming from independent labels, and that's repeated all over Europe. I mean, the major labels are what they are. They might have a Latin music division based in Miami, but they do sign, and they have to sign, by inertia. It's logical for them to sign Spanish language music, which will appeal to the whole Spanish-speaking population around the world. There's nothing wrong with that, but it does mean that slightly more niche music is always going to be developed at independent labels, and when it breaks through, you'll either find the band might get signed by a major, it might not, or they might 20 years on by the back catalogue. That's the difference between independent and major labels on the diversity front. And we have to promote that because that's what we live off.
Yeah, I'm going to touch on something that we have spoken during one of our sort of longer sessions at IMPALA, and which is something that I really find incredibly important, because it is a discussion that we haven't closed and we don't really know the answer yet. Perhaps, putting it to our Italian friends is going to help. And that is, should we have an identity with our fans? Should independent music be easily identifiable in shops, in digital shops, or wherever? Because, we've spoken, Mark, about this in our little group, and we didn't really like the idea of coming up with a sticker that says this product is independent. But on the other hand, it should be a value added item, because it does give the fan an idea from the background of the artist and where the label is coming from, and the work and the resources that are put behind these products. So what's your thoughts on that? Although I know it.
Well, I mean, if you look on the digital services, I don't know if it happens with Italian artists, but certainly on Spotify in Spain, the Spanish artists, there's no biography or information about them at all. And I think that's because of where Spotify derive their information from. There's a bit more with Apple. I think what we were discussing about an independent label or stamp, that's going to happen because Merlin has asked for it to happen, and something will probably happen to identify our music as distinct from the major labels, because if you look at the indie playlists, they tend to be 80% major dominated. And we kind of have to distinguish there. What was the question again?
You basically answered it.
Okay,
so
good.
Thank you very much.